Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's News in Depth. I'm Tom Slivick, and with me is Edwin Pattison. How are you doing, Edwin?
Nice to see you.
Okay, that was my father-in-law's name, Edwin. I think we called him Ed.
Go by a number of names.
Okay.
Edwin,
Just don't call you,
Pat.
Just don't call you late for chow?
Yeah, right.
That's my favorite expression,
Right.
I think. Like in this. Okay, so anyway, you're with Ione now, city manager.
City manager.
All right. How long? I just took effect. I think it was August 1st.
I've been working on looking at some of the background issues as early as July, but effective August 1, I assumed the city manager role.
Okay. Now I
So
know
it's
the
only
people in
been a few weeks.
Ione are probably pretty familiar with you because of the way that you were selected and things like that, which is probably pretty cool. But also, but maybe for the rest of Amador County, get a chance to know you. I believe you're now from Calaveras, but I asked you just a bit ago, and you're where are you originally from?
Well, I was born in Southern California in Anaheim, right
Okay.
across from
Disneyland guy.
and but I've lived all over the world, Asia, Europe, but mostly the last 20 plus years, northern San Joaquin Valley, Mother Lode area.
Okay, what were you doing living around in Asia and Europe?
Well, I was in the Army, so I had a chance to serve our armed forces. I had folks that were missionaries and had an interesting life living in Singapore, Thailand, and various areas of Asia. So it was a pretty good upbringing, and coming back to the United States, it was a little bit of a culture shock as a young lad. So had some great fond memories of those
Okay,
early
so as a
days.
young lad, so when were you, say, in Thailand? How old were you then?
My folks went over to Singapore on an ocean liner when I was just less than about a year old, and we came back when I was about 6. So we went from Singapore there for a while on into north central Thailand and basically lived on a dirt road in a little small village named Chum Seng.
Okay, you know where Utapao is?
No.
Okay. Anyway, all right. So let's go on. I believe you were served with the water district in Calaveras. Am I correct there?
Yes, I did. I served the Calaveras County Water District for going on 8 years, and really enjoyed it. Great water district, great county. So I served in many capacities, ranging from water rights to water resources management to grant writing, coordination, project management, that type of thing.
You were on the board, right?
No, I was a water resources manager.
Okay, so you worked.
I served the general manager and the board.
All right. So well, that's probably a kind of a good background to have going down into Ione.
Right, and very familiar with utility management, city, county, land use planning, state, federal regulations. It's something that was really needed here in Ione with the wastewater issue and what's been happening. So I bring with me a vast array of skills that will really help hopefully get this thing done and in the near future.
Okay, now you look like you're a young man to me. How old are you?
I may look young, but I come seasoned, and I am a veteran. I am 49 years old.
Okay, all right, and so that's great. So I
A fit 49.
Okay, so I owned picked you up, and I imagine there's a couple things that are going on in Ione that are pretty important, but a lot of things. But the wastewater issues, one, we'll get into that, and also I believe probably the grand jury report.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell us a little bit about the grand jury report and where it is? I believe you've made recommendations that I believe you're going to be one of the people that's going to be writing the answer to that. So why don't you let us know where it is?
Well,
what you had to respond
in just a
to.
couple of weeks, I've been ramping up rather quickly. There's stacks of reports that I've chewed through, contracts, so I'm doing the best job I can to synthesize those quickly and respond to the grand jury. It's an important process, and we want to do a good job in responding to each of the issues raised. We do have a draft response available now. We have a workshop this afternoon at 4 o'clock for the community to come in. They've had an opportunity to look at the draft response. It's been made available for at least several days, and hopefully we'll have some good comments this afternoon. The grand jury report basically outlined a range of issues dealing with the LAIF fund, some of the improper accounting between funds within that are maintained within the LAIF fund, and LAIF is an acronym that basically it allows public agencies to deposit money in a safe account, and that's primarily what's done because of law requires public agencies to have money safely deposited in low and interest-bearing accounts. LAIF just doesn't pay much, so
especially today.
And there's some question on how the money within LAIF is deposited between our different funds, between our restricted funds dealing with wastewater and other types of funds. So we're going through the process of reconciling that, making sure that it's accurate because of some of the movement of money over the years.
I'm a little curious. Do cities and government in general, do they have to keep their books the same way that the private corporations
no,
have to keep their
public
books?
Agencies are held to a higher standard.
They are.
Yeah. Well, it has to be transparent, but there's a lot of similarities, but there are definitely laws that deal with public agencies. And if money comes in from, say, a developer, it goes in, and they're paying up front for some type of infrastructure, say for wastewater or treatment plant expansion or any kind of infrastructure project. It goes into a restricted fund, and that money is used at some future point when that project is built. So some of those receivables, it has been made clear, have not been deposited correctly and may have been used for other accounts. Now, interbalance loans do occur as long as at the end of the year those are made whole, or at least payments are documented through transparency governed by the regulations, and that's what we're going through, is reconciling all those deposits and transfers and making sure all the accounts are whole.
Okay. Now, we had some interesting I think some interesting things that came out in the grand jury report was, let me see if I can get it right here, was it essentially that it sounded like they were saying that, former city manager Kim Kerr, I thought gave insufficient and misleading information. And this, of course, let's see, we're going to talk about here, but was with the general plan. I'm not sure, I didn't read the grand jury report, I'm sorry, but how can you speak to that?
Well, I think there's a couple of confused issues there. One, the general plan, and then misleading information or incorrect information. The general plan was something that was done a couple of years ago and has been adopted, which provides a roadmap for city development, and certain assumptions are made about some general plans. Assumptions are made about the growth of the city over time. In this case, it was a policy decision not to include a growth factor within the general plan, but to look at a 20-30 year build-out scenario and allow development to build when the economy dictated it would build. So there's no growth rate assumptions.
This spoke to a specific issue.
So that's the general plan. Now, the misleading or incorrect information that has been alleged
to me,
that Kim Kerr has submitted was dealing with budgeting numbers, which oftentimes when you do a budget, you're making assumptions about revenues that come in later in the year. For cities and counties, revenues come in 2-3 times a year, and they don't come in consistently with your expenditures, hence the interbalance fund loans and things like that to be able to pay some of your invoices. They come in. Now, the allegation about former city manager Kerr is that certain budget projection numbers were not accurately reflected, and again, those were projections. Were they misrepresented? I don't know. I haven't gone back to look at any of those, but that's the allegation, and I believe the grand jury and the DA may be looking into it. I'm not sure how far that's going, and we'll report whatever accurate information or documentation we have.
Are you in your response going to be speaking to that issue?
Yes, I believe that is one of the responses.
Okay, so you have to come up with that before investigation, if there's an investigation?
Well, I don't know if there's going to be investigation or not, but we have a response in the grand jury report that talks about budgeting and projections and the numbers and how to go about doing that. So at this point, we have the response in the draft grand jury response that we've written. That was, I mentioned, be at the workshop this afternoon. The grand jury response will be finalized and adopted by the city council and submitted before the deadline. which is
Okay.
due sometime about mid to late September.
Okay. I think they also found some of that staging into the wastewater plant as well. Well, let's not get in the weeds and everything with,
Right, it
with
can-
too much more. But let's talk about the wastewater issue. You're on board. Are we starting from scratch down there?
Oh, of
or-
course not. There's
Okay.
been a lot
I
of
didn't
work
think
done
so.
over 9 years and a lot of money spent
What are
on
we,
looking
what
at
are
a
we
solution.
working with then?
What we're looking at is a deadline looming very
Okay.
fast, and we have to basically develop laser-like focus on addressing the problem and developing an immediate, least cost, long-term average solution. So we're proceeding on several parallel tracks. One, addressing the immediate need while trying to keep our eyes on the long-term regional benefit of partnership. So we're proceeding on those parallel tracks, but it is complicated, and we believe we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. Was there already a plan in place?
Should I keep going?
See,
He said break or something.
okay, I just sort of break. We'll be back after this. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for helping me out.
Sorry.
Okay, bye. You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.